Hello everyone, my name is Saokosal. Today we'll talk about how to connect Android with PHP and MySQL using Volley. This is where you can find me. You can find me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and GitHub. I will make 4 videos about Android Volley. The first part is about Volley library, singleton, request queue. The second one is about how to send and read data from and to PHP and MySQL. Part 3, I will talk about how to convert data into JSON and send it to the custom lib view. Part 4, I will talk about how to send images to server. So Android Volley is about to do multitasking. In early version of Android, you could just do multitasking on the main thread. But you got a lot of problems. It's like a memory leak. Sometimes you have to wait a task to be completed on the main thread for a very long time. Then Android 3.0 introduced another library called Async Task. So that was good. That was enough for the many applications. But still, Async Task is just asynchronous. Until task A completes, task B has to wait. It's something like this. Until you hit the floor, you have to wait in the air. Something like in the picture over here. It's also a first in, first out. It's something like in the queue. The waiter has to complete a person task, then the next can come. So what if you have a long queue like this? Then Android introduced Volley library. People confuse Volley library is something like a bouncing ball, like a volleyball, but it's not. It's not a volleyball. Volley means something different in English. It's something like you shoot arrows in the air at the same time. And you are not shooting one arrow. You have many people shooting arrows at the same time. This is what volleys look like. Okay? Okay, let's go to Google. If you type Android Volley library, you will see the first one from Android. There is a good lesson about this and you can read it. But first I want to show you is about how to set it up. So Android is a part of Android open source project. So you can clone the project and use it for free. Or if you don't want to do it yourself, maybe you just use this one, the second link. You go here. But he said that his library is deprecated. So you have to use this instead. And if you want to use his, then you still can use this one. And if you are not happy with this, you can just do it yourself. You can just go something like this. Create Android Volley library. You will go to this link. And in his blog, he talk about how to do the Volley library, convert it to the jar file. First one, you need git and the and write some code yourself. Then you can just get the jar, or you can just download the jar file from his. So you can just download here, okay, and keep it, or maybe you can just use this one. So let's try this one first. So you go to your project, new, next, and use the basic activity. Okay, before anything else, I just want to point out something. I'm using Android Studio 2.0 and I updated to the Android SDK 23.3. So your interface might be different from mine a little bit. For example, like in the Java folder, you have 3 subfolders instead of 2, but it doesn't matter. It's just for testing. So what you have to do is the same thing. It is in the main activity. So you have to go to build.gradle, the second one, and you add the library that you got from the internet, this one, and click on sync now, and you need the internet for this. Okay, so to test it, you can test by writing some code, and here you go to get started. This one is part of the Volley library request queue, and you go to name request queue, and you can call anything like this, and let's check it out. Yes, now you have the imported correctly. If you don't see this import, maybe you don't turn the auto import correctly. On Windows, you go to File and Setting, not Import or Export Setting. Setting is something over here. On Mac, you go to Preferences over here, and you type Auto Import. Then here, you have to check all the three checks here. Okay. Now you have the library installed already, but you still need one more thing. The request queue here is a class, and you can create many objects from that, which is not good. So Android introduced another concept. You go to setting up a request queue, and you go down, and it is called singleton. Singleton is a part of the design pattern from Gang of Four, which help you to prevent create many objects from one class. So this pattern makes sure that you have only one object from a class. So this just for the request queue, but it is the singleton. And just copy the code and go back to Android and go here, new Java class, and you can call whatever you want, but let's call my singleton. The reason that you want to put the same name as my singleton is that when you get any problem, for example, you stuck with something, you can just go and type something like, oh, Android Volley my singleton. See, so there is a suggestion from Google, and maybe say error, and you will see a lot of Stack Overflow use the same thing, use the same class name and a method that you can get a code and fix the error easier. So stick with the name my singleton and pass it here. Okay. Now you got one more problem here, the LO cache, and you go to the very end of the LOU cache and control space, and now you need to use Android support version 4.util. Okay, now the error is fixed. One more thing, you have to go to Android manifest because you need the internet. Okay, so you have to use the use permission internet here. You ask for the internet usage permission. Okay, now you are good to go. And you can see some example over here. So the main thing here is the request queue, but request queue now become my singleton, and my singleton now can add as many as request queue you like. So what you have here is grab the code, and maybe you just pass it here. You can write a button and then click on that and you get the data. But now just write like this. If you don't need the menu, just delete this. And here you can call any request. It is a string request, and it is part of the library. You can call string request, network request, cache request, JSON request. Okay, the basic one is a string request. So let's start with the string request here. and just call string request. Okay, new string request. Okay, here there are three things. The first one is a method, is a get or post. If you don't mention the get or post, the default is get. And then you need a URL. What is your URL? Then now maybe let's try just Google. Okay, and make sure that you have the S here because you're going to use the ADPS. And then put the URL here. Okay, and then the return thing, listener. So you need another one is the error. It's also the response, but it's the error response, and this one is a data response. Okay, it is a string because you are using the string request here. So when you get the data, you want to send to log, and you can call logd. Now I want to create a tag. Get class, get simple name here, and maybe you just display the response, and there will be a lot of code from Google here. If something error, maybe let's use toast here, and then this, then line. Okay, here you are using this in the anonymous, so you have to use the get application context here. So now you are good to go, and I'm using Jenny Motion, so you are free to use your native one, but it's better to use this one. Okay, let's see the log here. So you are use the name of this class as a tag, so type like this. Now you can see this one. Okay, so this is the data that you retrieve from the google.com. If you are not sure, you can just go to Google and you type google.com like this, and you right click and you go to use source. Okay, now there should be something similar here, the schema thing, okay, very similar. It's not exactly the same because Google use some flexible code. For the here I use KX, and this one I use .com is changed to .ka. It must be the same thing. Okay, and let's say you don't uh, put the permission here. Okay, just delete it. And for the Android 2.0, there are two buttons here. Usually you just click the run and it will run automatically from the start, but now you have to stop. If you run from here, something like a minor change, you can just run it like this. It will instantly run and then it's faster. But you want to change something more, something like the permission like this, you have to stop it, okay, and rerun it like this. Okay. Okay, there is an error now, okay, because you don't put the permission over here. And let's check the log here. Okay, it's not easy to see, but if you see something like this, you know that you forget to add a permission in Android manifest. Okay, so run it back. Okay, now you are good to go. And if the URL is error, then you're gonna get another message. Okay, and now let's try to get the data from localhost. I use XAMPP. Okay, so if you use WAM, it's okay. Use XAMPP is okay. It's up to you. And start it now. Before I move on to read the data from Android, I want to show you something which is very important, because when you are using localhost, you are using a different thing. Unlike on PC, you have only one localhost. But here in Android emulator, you have another localhost. So if you say, now I want to say HTTP and localhost like this, you cannot call to the PC localhost. Instead, you have to use 10.0.3.2. This number 3 is for the Genie motion, and if you are using the native Android emulator, you use the 10.0.2.2. Okay, if you are using another port, type port like that. If you are use 80, it's default one. You don't have to specify like this. And then maybe the project, okay, maybe your project like this, okay, or maybe some index file, okay. So usually you cannot get the data easily, because the problem is not about this code or this library, but it's about the WAM permission. So if you go to Android, if you go to Google and you type something like WAM permission deny, you will see a lot of problem here. And the problem comes from them or WAM try not to let you call from another IP address, because the default IP address is 127.0.0.1, but now you are using another IP address called the localhost. So you have to go to your PHP MyAdmin configs like this, and then you can change from here to here, and maybe you just say something like this better. Okay, and then maybe you have to remove something. For them, I think you have to go to here and config and open configs like this. Okay, around something over here. Okay, so you have to figure it out yourself. And plus, you have to make sure that you can browse localhost from the Android emulator. So you go to home and you go to local browser here and you type HTTP, and now you don't type localhost but you type 10.0.3.2. Just like I said, the 3 is for the Genie motion, and if you are using the built-in one, using number 2. Okay, now I use Genie motion. If you see something like this, then you are correct. Okay, if you cannot see something like this, you would see something like permission denied or access forbidden. Then you have to Google and find the solution. Okay, so now I have a project. So customer, and it is in the product here, and I write a JSON already, but this is for testing. So let's go to web, and then customer product. I will explain the JSON later, but now this is the URL, and you want to replace that to here, but then change the localhost to 10.0.3.2. Okay, now you see the data around here. Okay, so lastly, I want to talk about the request. Like I said before, Singleton can take as many requests as you want. So you can have this for the Google and maybe another one. So I will create another one, and here just Google and maybe .kh for Cambodia. and I will call 1, and this one is 2, it's 2, 1, change 1, 2. Okay, and this one. Now you have 2 requests. So let's see. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Now you see the data. The first one is from localhost, and the second one is from Google. But if you notice this, actually Google is first, okay? Because I call the string request 1 first, and then the second one. The first is Google, the second one is localhost. But when you see the data here, you get the data from localhost first. Why? Because it is the multitasking. It doesn't care which task go first. It's not first in, first out, but it's multitask. It's a real one. And if the data, the first one is completed first, then it's sent back to your Android first, even though the second one just come later. But then it doesn't care. It cares about the amount of data and then the time of requesting, and then it will send back as soon as it is uh, completed. Okay, that is the cool thing about Volley. Okay, that's it for part 1. I will meet you in part 2, and please don't forget to subscribe my channel to watch the part 2 and 3 and other videos as well. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.